Welcome to your new favorite band, the podcast brought to you by the LA Maybe. And now, your hosts, Dallas Dwight and Drizzle Silvera.
Well, hello there, friends. Welcome back to your new favorite band, the podcast brought to you by us, the LA Maybe. I am Dallas Dwight. With me as always, my co-host.
I wish you way better luck at speaking tonight.
Drizzle Silvera.
We're already starting like this, man.
Already with the ball busting.
Yeah.
Let it commence. How's it going, my friend?
Oh, dude. I just gave it away.
Oh, no.
I just gave it away.
It's our first guest.
Loking on the switcher here. Yeah. Dude, I'm doing great.
Why don't
I'm
you
excited.
introduce? You spoiled it now. You got to
introduce it. All right, so sitting right next to me here, longtime friend. We've been buddies. I don't know, 16 years now, maybe.
Nearly 16 months.
Just about, yeah.
Nearly 60, right. 16 months, something like that. And we've grown up playing and messing with Iron Maiden, Metallica, and writing originals and playing music, man.
Oh, those
I
were
like
the
how you went full Pasadena on Metallica.
Metallica. Yeah, so right next to me, we've got Mr. Mikey Marerro, my good friend.
It's great to
That's
be here
me.
on the
There we go.
podcast. Absolutely. See, I've known Daryl. Obviously, I've known Dwight. Not as long.
Not as long.
But Daryl and I has a history that definitely shaped our musical experiences. Let's start from the origins. We were, 16 years old when we met?
15, 16 years old, somewhere right around there. And dude, we met through Fred Updegraft.
That's right.
Right?
We got to have Fred on.
Dude,
Fred needs to be on this podcast.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And
You know what we got to do is all four.
Yeah,
That's what I was
exactly,
about to
dude.
say.
I was with you on that.
Dude, that'd be an absolutely wild podcast.
Oh,
I'm the odd man out, but I'm happy to be a part of it.
Hey, man. Honestly, it's good to get to know you better, too, during this podcast.
It's not. It's never good
Oh,
for
really?
anyone.
Definitely not with this
Never
guy.
goes well for anyone. Yeah.
Yeah, dude, I started going cross-eyed ever since I started hanging out with
I know,
you.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just a little bit, 10% 10% grade, a little more every year.
Yeah.
But let's
For
go
sure.
back. I want to hear more about how this started.
Yeah, go for it, Mikey.
When
Definitely.
did you guys start dating?
Oh, man. Well, we were 16 years old, and we started off just playing heavy rock and metal, like you said
And
earlier.
heavily bicurious, yeah.
Oh, dude. So that kind of sparked this whole process of playing music together, getting in a band together, having Fred and his dad kind of orchestrating our rehearsal experience, and what eventually led to a lot of the musicianship and skills that we have accumulated to this day in this moment.
I was, Driz, you were telling me about the early days, and we might have even talked about it on the podcast with the in-ears and the rehearsals and all that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And you guys are really lucky to have that. That's not something that every garage band gets. So
No, right?
that's
Definitely not.
I think in a way you get maybe spoiled from that, because then you go to a garage band and you're like, "Where are in-ears?" And everybody's like, "What, dude? Like I
In-ears
can't hear
turned
myself
up to
flawlessly."
11.
Like it's like, yeah, no, of course not.
Yeah.
This is how it is for the rest of us.
Yeah, spoiled is a good word for it.
Yeah.
Because then you do go in other situations, and people
Yeah.
acknowledge your kind of stuck-upness
Right.
due to that situation.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, maybe not.
But we still had those amp days in the garage, but that wasn't very long. That wasn't like long lived. That was like a couple years, and then we're on, boom, we're on in-ears.
right.
Oh,
So-
yeah.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
From the garage band days to the in-ears.
Yeah,
Leading
and I
into
think
that, yeah.
church musicians in particular, worship musicians, they come up with a different. There's maybe a different trajectory with the in-ears and the rehearsals and the drum shields and in practicing in the sanctuary and all this stuff. And,
Yeah.
and
So it's funny, we were rock and rollers who got like hooked into
Like,
the church
exactly,
thing.
yeah.
So because Fred's dad, who put out an album, was like heard us jamming in the garage, and we're like jamming Maiden and Dream Theater and all that
Oh,
kind of
yeah.
stuff. And he's like, "These guys are pretty good. What if I just make them my band and they travel to different
That's really
churches with
funny.
me?" So
what? Okay, so what was like that early set list?
that early set list.
Yeah, I know the bands, but what were the songs?
Oh, dude.
With
well,
the Maiden tunes and
well,
the stuff we were jamming in the
Yeah,
garage.
yeah, Dream Theater, Maiden, Metallica.
Oh,
What
dude,
songs?
Ace is High. A lot of stuff from that whole album from Power Slave.
Right.
Avenged Sevenfold, I believe there was a couple songs in there, like
dude.
Backcountry
Oh yeah,
and those things.
Scream, dude. I remember playing
Oh,
Scream.
Scream. I played
yeah.
Scream with one of my students at
Yeah.
Gig Night.
Nice.
Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's a good song, man.
Oh, dude.
Oh, yeah. And you guys know the story about Scream, right? Zachy Vengeance was at a the slot machines, and he heard the sound playing from the slot machine. He's like, it'd be cool if I turned that into a guitar riff. And so that's what ended up being that opening riff.
That was Zachy Vengeance who wrote that riff.
Yeah.
That's cool, dang. Man. I would have just automatically assumed like Sinister wrote that one, right?
Oh yeah.
I thought so too. That's not an easy riff. It's really cool. It's really odd, diminished. I wonder if he maybe like adjusted that, because like I don't know, slot machines. I feel like I've been around casinos and they usually play like happy major sounds.
Yeah,
gotcha.
A diminished arpeggio, maybe not.
Yeah,
I wonder if he maybe embellished.
It's like you won money and it's just like the most like disturbing. Like,
yeah,
it's like that's
although,
not
dude,
very
some
happy.
of them are weird, man. There is at Player One Up where we recorded the video for Oh Sugar. There's a pinball machine that only plays 7 by Primus.
Yeah, that was
badass.
Dude, that pinball machine was amazing.
It was the weirdest thing.
Yeah.
I think it's called 7, the Magnificent 7. It
was something like that.
7.
Yeah,
it's off color. It's about colors. It's weird. Anyway, it's a weird song, and I think it's in 7/8 or something like that. And I'm just sitting here watching one of you guys film, and I'm hearing this like 7/8 groove that's like grooving really hard, and I'm just like, what is this? This is awesome.
Yeah,
I had to like hunt it down, but we figured out it was Primus.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
and it was a Pabst Blue Ribbon. It was a Pabst Blue Ribbon sponsored Primus pinball machine.
It was a weird
that was
combination
traveling to
yeah.
different what do you call them? Different arcades.
Mm-hmm.
So that you'd get it for so many weeks, and then it would go to another arcade. So yeah,
man, that's crazy.
Anyways, back to Avenged Sevenfold and our. We didn't really have a set list. We were just kind of like jamming.
What Dream
at that
Theater
point
were
in
you
time.
playing though?
So
Pull Me Under.
Mikey was really the Dream Theater player. So let him get
yeah, it was more like I just learned a bunch of Petrucci licks, and then I just showed up, and then Fred would just start jamming.
Nice.
And really,
were you doing like Glasgow Kiss?
Oh,
like from the solo album.
It's basically images and words.
Oh, gotcha.
Maybe some stuff from Awake.
Dude,
even really a lot of
stuff.
it. Yeah,
even
early
Liquid
Dream
Tension
Theater.
Experiment, right? So.
Yeah, Octavarium, those different kinds of things. There were a lot of great riffs on there.
Yeah.
And Count of Tuscany. I remember jamming that.
That's a good one.
Oh, yeah.
Count of Tuscany. I love that album, the Black Clouds album.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
song's
epic.
only 19 minutes. So.
Only 19.
That album came out when we went on that beach trip.
Yes, it did.
I bought that album, brought it on the beach trip.
Dude, Attack of the Jellies. Do you remember when we fucking got annihilated by jellyfish?
You guys peeing on each other?
Well, absolutely. That's the only
Before.
It's the only cure. Yeah, said a guy who really liked getting peed on. It really is. There's no base in science. He's just like, it's the only way to stop the pain.
And it feels good.
Yeah.
R. Kelly's like, I thought she got stung by jellyfish.
Your Honor,
That's great.
there was a jellyfish present. He's got one, like he brings one around.
He's just like, they're dangerous. Just holding it up.
Watch out, preventative medicine.
That's great.
Trust me, I'm a doctor. Are you?
That summer consisted of a lot of ping pong.
Lots of ping pong. Lots of just learning and theory. And,
It was like guitar boot camp
Really?
while on vacation.
On the beach trip?
Oh, dude, yeah.
How did it turn into that? I'm interested.
Well, Daryl and I grew up playing guitar, and it's been obviously a passion and hobby of mine since I was 11 years old. And so I'm always on the quest for finding new techniques, new skills, new ways to play things. And obviously during the time I was very motivated with that. So Daryl coming along to us being guitar players in the same band, it was only fair that we would kind of go back and forth, sharpening that iron, if you will, throughout the experience. It was great. We learned a lot about each other. We learned a lot about music during the time, and it made us tighter as players during that era, whenever we did start playing in the church, and a lot of that transpired from a lot of the music I was writing. I was going through identity crisis, a sense of not only where I fit in society, but spiritually as well. And the church seemed to accept a lot of these crazy musical, situations.
Particularly
right off
the church we were at, yeah.
I mean, how do you get away with playing metal at church? You know what I mean? And there's a bunch of videos on YouTube that people can watch with Fall of Ashes and that era. And a lot of people remember that time. But you know what? The church appreciated that because it was something fresh. It was something new. There's this conformity that occurs with modern day worship music that it needs to evolve.
Well, and I have to say this about, because a lot of the songs lyrically you wrote, I think almost all of them, and all of them. pretty much, except for that one I did, which was kind of dumb. But
Absolutely.
hindsight, I'm like, ooh.
And you're going to sing it for us here now. That's awesome.
Yeah,
Thank you
no,
so
I don't
much.
even remember it.
Oh,
I've
man.
blocked it out. You know.
I was about to say that's so many years ago, dude. It's unreal.
But yeah. So, anyways, but where Mikey came from was like just like this cool place of like total just like honesty in his lyrics, which was like cool, and it was like too metal, and it had rise and falls. It wasn't just all metal; it was really melodic. Like the chord progressions evoked emotion, stuff like that. I'm kind of speaking for Mikey, but my experience from the music that we were playing together, and not very often, if ever, were we ever playing the same notes. No. So like so much harmony,
There's a lot of Avenged Sevenfold.
Yeah, exactly. and not just Avenged Sevenfold, but like Mikey was really getting into like different chords, like inversions, and Mikey's like, you play this while while I play this, and so we stayed out of each other's hair.
Well, I always studied harmony, knew inversions, like he said, ways to approach chord progressions that isn't necessarily what has been done before. Obviously, a lot of what we're going to be kind of regurgitating is stuff that we've done before. However, through a lot of the classical harmony in particular, it opened up my eyes to a lot of diminished chords. You were talking about diminished arpeggios earlier with the slot machines and how those are great gateway chords, even in a standard 4-chord progression. Anyway, so I was learning a lot of this stuff from school. I went for classical guitar performance and composition and theory and stuff like that, and opened up my ear to a lot of like Gregorian chant.
Yeah.
Renaissance vocal music, the golden age of polyphony, multiple moving parts. So when it comes to the rock band orchestration, then it was like applying these principles within the rock ensemble. A lot of guitar players in rock can get away with playing some of the same chords together, and for good reason. You get that double effect sound of having just that wall of energy. Yeah. It's nice when you can still have that wall of energy by using inversions to complement the other guitar players' even basic power chord. And some of that was kind of orchestrated in some of the work we were doing earlier. Yeah. But anyway, this couple 2 cents about that aspect of some of the learning and some of the stuff we implemented in some of that early music. And it's something that I implement in a lot of my solo music as well, which my single Aire Caliente, Shameful Plug, is out, and so definitely check that out. You can hear a lot of how the influences have morphed.
Spell it for our folks out there who are not inclined to
Aire
understand.
Caliente, AIRECAL-iente. Okay, so that being said, you can hear in that single the Dream Theater influence, the moving time signatures, but the Latin influence that's kind of embedded in my blood naturally, rhythmically. And so it's mixing those elements, the odd time meters with the Latin rhythms, with some of the virtuosity that comes from the rock and metal playing, especially in the guitar solo. If you listen, it's with a driven tone. So I'm always going to have that aspect of my identity. And earlier, it was about my identity crisis. And now I had to go through this path. I got to learn classical. I got to learn this. Because if I just do one thing, I'm a one-trick pony. And this is something that kind of ate at my brain, hence the need to study and incorporate all of my influences in the music that I do now. So I think Aire Caliente is a good part, an earlier milestone of my evolution, but it continues to go from there, with a lot of new stuff that's going to be coming out.
Yeah, I think I went through something similar. And so when you were going through this crisis, was that high school?
Well, it was way earlier than that. Middle school was, okay. I think we all started trying to find our identity. Oh man, they're cool. Let me go hang out with them. Or, dang, she's hot, but she hangs out with this group. I have to fix an aspect of myself to fit in. Your concept of me, of I, and where I stand, my self-image.
I think it's just called puberty.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
Well, specifically musically, I went through it. All my friends were wanting to play metal. Every drummer I knew wanted to just double kick as fast as he could, and I was like, just wanted to play rock, And I went through a phase of like trying all this different stuff, and then realized that like, dude, I'm just the rock guy. Like that's just who I'm gonna be, and that's where I'll find my niche. And instead of trying to be good at all this other stuff, it doesn't bring me as much joy as just playing A, G, and D does. Like, I'll just play A, G, and D better than the next guy, hopefully, and that'll just be my thing. Because that's what I bring to the table.
Which is something that I admire, because artists will spend a lot of time delving into deeper levels of musicality, only to create a work of art that is meaningful to them and hopefully other
Right.
people. I mentioned to you earlier before the podcast. Persistence is key, whether if it's building this podcast studio and all the funds that are going to be coming in for the podcast studio, but it's also more than that. It's how you can transform AGD, whatever, into songs that people like, getting them done, creating this to amplify the LA Maybe brand. So what you're doing speaks volumes over an artist trying to find self-configuration within himself.
Right.
Persistency, I think, is key, which is something I admire about your work with LA Maybe.
Oh, yeah. Thanks,
And
man.
how the transition of what Daryl's gone from when we were working together to where he is now with what you guys are doing, which anyway.
Yeah,
I
it's
think
interesting.
neat.
He was Mikey. You were talking about the almost talking about you like he's not here. He was talking about
Yeah.
You were talking about the kind of twin guitar attack and the playing different things, and we definitely implement that in our stuff as well.
Yeah.
But we do also use playing the same exact thing isn't something I view to be avoided necessarily. It's just another tool in the belt,
Absolutely.
So like it's not even necessarily the default. It's like, hey, we'll go apart and play our own thing here, and then for this part we're gonna come back together and play the exact same thing. So it just hits you over the head, and then we'll go apart and do our own thing, and then we'll go here, and then we'll go there, and we kind of weave all this stuff in and out. And because I kind of come from that school as well as like we have two players, we have two paintbrushes. Let's paint different things. Let's not just trace each the same line or whatever. And that especially live creates a more full like sonic palette.
Oh, for sure.
In the studio, you could do whatever you want. Doesn't matter. There's 12 guitars in our songs. Every chorus is like 10 guitar parts.
Right.
Live, we only have 2, so we have to kind of condense it down. And we've tried to do that in some creative ways, and we have to leave some by the wayside. But it's definitely something that we think about pretty
as long as the
consistently.
essence is captured, like
And nobody knows.
Yeah, exactly.
Nobody could play the part that we leave out,
Right.
by listening. You wouldn't know. You barely even know it's there to begin with.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you just hear the stuff that's most prominent between the two of us. Yeah, so
Yeah. Well, when we create all the parts, it's easy for us to decide, like, oh, well, these are clearly the two most important.
yeah,
Or, like, the rhythm has to be there, and then, like, let's pick our favorite lead, or, like, the most important lead that adds the most to the chords,
yeah,
and go from there,
exactly.
I like how you said it was a color palette. And
Yeah.
that you have two paintbrushes.
I'm a big
and-
fan of analogies.
Totally. And it's all about the tools that you have to work with. And it's something that is something ringing over
Somebody's phone ring?
there? Yeah.
Is that yours, Mikey?
No, mine's off. Is that yours? Sounds like Red Hot Chili Peppers again.
I think my phone just started playing music.
That's
it did.
amazing.
It just started playing music. Okay, cool.
Nice. But yeah, it's great what you guys do. And you're so right driving it whenever the two come together, especially during choruses.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, or even just some cool riffs that just need that extra little,
Yeah. It's just a constant, like, weaving in and out.
Yeah,
There's no hard and fast rule of, like, the chorus, we have to do this. It's just...
or like it
Or the
sounds
intro,
like it's the same part, but we're actually playing something like approaching it a little differently to where exactly, just kind of comes together.
It's interesting, though. I think there's definitely a part of us that's overthinking all of this, and that because when it transfers live, when you convey it live, like so much is lost.
No, true.
Yeah, like because first of all, a lot's lost just because you're in a room, and the person's not really paying attention maybe at that part or whatever. And then also you got to remember we're playing for casual music fans who may not be musicians, and so we're only able to see out of our own head. We're only able to think, oh, I got to play this Mixolydian lick right. And the person in the back just like, feels good. Like they don't have an idea. They don't have a clue, and they shouldn't have a clue. And I think it's important for us to try to get out of our own heads as well.
Well, you have to. I mean, otherwise you're just, you start freezing. You start going, thinking about it instead of flowing. Yeah. Right. And so that's so important. And I've got students and I try to tell my students, in practice, like you've got to get familiar enough with what you're learning to where you can play it without thinking about it.
Yeah.
The muscle memory's there, which means you're in a state where you can start to flow.
Yeah.
And just, start picking up other things, like especially if you want to start singing and playing a guitar part. That guitar part better be muscle memory.
Or truly performing,
Yeah.
headbanging, going nuts, lights are in your face. We played a gig the other day where they turned on strobe lights.
Oh,
we
dude.
didn't know they had strobe lights, and if
Yeah.
you've never played under strobe lights, it's basically looks like everything's moving like real jerky.
Oh,
like
yeah.
so you're looking down playing something fast, and like your hand looks like it's flashing, and
Yeah.
you have no idea if you're like there's all these other things like you better know what you're playing.
Like a scene from a movie where someone like gets dosed on like drugs and they're like about to pass out. It's just like flash, 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 and they're at a different point.
You're getting like every fourth frame of like what's going on.
Exactly.
Oh wait, this is the wrong area of the fretboard.
Yeah.
Oh, wait.
Or we played a gig one time where we were testing out. We did a Guns N' Roses tribute for a gig, and we did a test to see how it would work. And it was Halloween, I think.
Oh,
remember
yeah.
That?
Yeah, I remember
So we
that.
were able to put the costumes on and play it off like, oh, it's Halloween. You know, we're Guns N' Roses for the night and playing fun. And I remember I had the aviator glasses on that are super dark. And I had the wig in my face and the hat down low. And they turned the lights down. And I'm supposed to start the song, and I look down and just blackness. I couldn't even see a guitar on my body. Like I had no idea if I was on the right fret. I'm like, oh.
Did we start that with Mr.
I
Brownstone?
definitely was not on the right fret, by the way. Like, that was a fun one. And then the first few notes I played, and then my glasses just completely fogged up.
Yeah, dude, I remember you saying that. Dude, I ended up taking my glasses off very quickly in that gig. I'm like, fuck this.
We were in like a
Can't see
tiny
shit.
little bar in like a corner.
Yeah.
We may have started with Brownstone, yeah.
You got to know your shit in situations like that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's like, how are you going to navigate through? It has to be subconscious. It has to be muscle memory at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah. But if you don't even know your starting point,
yeah,
you know, it's just like, okay.
Yeah.
Like, once I get started, I can find it, but like I have no idea where I'm supposed to be starting.
Exactly.
DJ Ashba was playing with Guns N' Roses for a while, and they started a song. I think they started the set with the song "Chinese Democracy," and he was talking about how they control their entire stage. So everywhere they played, he'd start the song in complete pitch blackness. So he had a special guitar made with glow in the dark inlays.
Oh yeah.
So he just for that song. So he knew like, okay, I'll start at the right spot at least. You know.
That's wild. Yeah.
That's insane. I love stories like that.
Same. I had a guitar, that Charvel, for a very brief moment in time. That black one.
My 7-string.
That black one.
The Orange Misha one has glow in the dark inlays.
Oh yeah, gotcha.
That's a cool thing, but not super helpful for like a studio guitar. You know.
Yeah. True.
It's just kind of cool. Did you have one?
A Misha Mansour guitar or a Charvel?
anything that glue in the dark?
No, nothing.
Glue?
If
That
anything,
can't be right.
the Ibanez RG that I had was almost like that Steve Y finish. So naturally had a fluorescent kind of hue in whatever scenario or situation was going on. So that was a great guitar. One transition that was hard for me playing guitar especially was moving from Ibanez NX, which I grew up on, the flat radius, moving on to something like Stratty or Les Pauly.
Yeah.
You know, the way it forces just your whole left-hand technique and demeanor and everything like that. Sure, faster licks are easier, and some of the tones you get, the bite you get particularly, especially with those styles of guitars, whether it's Charvel or Ibanez, is desirable for a lot of that style of music. Then I started gravitating more toward, I play for a party band right now called the Right to Party. And so in those situations, you almost need a Strat. You need something that has the single coil fatness, but clarity too, you know? And so switching over to Strat was definitely a huge challenge right after that. So especially starting from a flatter scale neck and switching to then the radius that's like of the Strat. However, tonally, I think they excel versus a lot of like the Charvel guitars.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the vintage tones were always some of the greatest tones sought after in any genre of music. You know, that's why it's cool. I see you playing like Les Pauls. I see you playing these really sweet semi-hollow body style guitars.
Like ES type thing.
Yeah.
And those tones are timeless, you know, and it's, you know, but notice how when we were younger, we all had those Misha Mansour guitars, or we had the Charvels.
I had a bunch of Ibanez S series.
Oh,
Dude, just turn it to insane, bro. Turn it to insane.
Dude,
what are you doing
line
on Crunch?
Oh, dude.
Oh man. What are you doing on Crunch? Which was the best. The green metal. That was the best.
Green metal was
you could
amazing.
chunk some good stuff.
Yeah.
You're right, man.
I played many a gig with a Line 6 Spider Jam, and people would come up after and be like, "What amp are you using?" And I'd point to it, and they'd be like, "No, like for real." And I'm like, "That's the one." And they were like, "But it sounds so good." I was like, "That's because."
Dude, that's
because green metal.
That's how it was when we were rocking those GT10s.
Oh,
so we had the Boss GT10s.
Oh no.
Mikey had one and I had one. Kind of like
the one with the pedal.
That's the one with the pedal and like
the four knobs like that. Or the four buttons?
No. The four.
I'm thinking of the Digitech.
It actually had 6. So bank up, bank down, and then your 4 channels per bank. And I on multiple occasions I had people come up to me like, you know, after or even during the show. I had a musician who played for a band before us come up to me, and like we're in between songs. He's like, "Dude, what amp are you using?" I'm like, "What?" Like I couldn't hear him that way. He's like, "What amp are you using?" It was a guy named Seth Worley, and I was just like, I point down to my pedal. He's like, "Where's the amp?" I was like, "No, it's just all in this pedal." And then we're starting another song.
Us.
This was at Amos's South End when we were doing one of those. Yeah.
One of the Fall of Ashes gigs.
Yeah, one of the Fall of Ashes gigs. Yeah. Yeah, that's still us.
With the quads, yeah. Everybody rolls in with all these cabs. We roll in with a backpack.
Yeah.
The convenience, though, man.
I know.
Which I mean, brings a good topic of conversation here is how convenient digital is, but the replication of the amp modeling and the simulation is just starting to just be so close. How do you guys feel about using your systems? And
we're big
besides
fans.
the convenience, I mean, I guess before asking that question, one thing that I struggle with the digital unit in particular is, like I mentioned earlier, when you're trying to play something that is strat driving, like party music, dance music. Think Nile Rodgers or something like that, where you have a strat and
just
you're
a lot of right hand
funkin', bro. There's a tone that comes out of the tubes and the warmth of an amp that's fat, and it sits in the mix with the way the high and the mid range all kind of coalesces together. It's so hard to find that in digital units. Now, mind you, we've only like used the GT10. Use some of these other amp modeling simulators.
You're using the Helix still, right?
Yeah,
the Helix.
Yeah, and I'll come back to the Helix, but really in particular, what is it that you use?
We use the Neural DSP Quad Cortex.
So you guys are now Neural guys.
Yeah, we have one each.
Because beforehand you were a Kemper guy.
I still have my Kemper. Yeah, it just doesn't leave my studio now. It just stays in there.
Nice.
Yep.
See, one thing I like about the Kemper, which I guess is also mirrored in the Quad Cortex, right? The profiling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. Quads can profile, and they do a great job. Yep.
Yeah, the profiling just seems, and I haven't messed with profiling, so I have a biased opinion on my only experience. But getting that sort of sound I was talking about earlier to cut through the fatness of tubes and amps, profiling would seem like it would do that a lot better than some of the other processors.
It does.
You know?
100%.
And I haven't tried that yet, but I guess the tone I have in my head that I'm trying to seek out of a digital unit is something like a black-face twin, or black-face Fender style, that it's nice and fat, gives a little bit of breakup, but you're still hitting it and it's clean, and then when you push it with pedals, dude, man, you can get great tones out of that.
That's something a lot of people said about the Kemper in particular, is that it takes pedals really well.
It does.
I don't know about the Quad. I've never tried it, but I never really tried it with the Kemper either. But I've heard that from a lot of people.
It was a big trend. Yeah, it was a big trend amongst, because when
worship artists as well.
Yeah, worship artists, because they were all using like these matchlesses and like Morgans and
AC30.
Yeah, AC30s, stuff like that. Boutique amps. And then I started seeing, and it was slow at first, but then more and more started going to the Kemper. Yep. But they still had their massive pedal boards.
Yeah, which is essentially just 4 delay pedals. It's like, just have one.
Yeah. 4 delays, multiple stacked verbs.
You're not playing anything so good we need to hear it 8 times.
Yeah, exactly.
And the problem is you mess up and you hear it on the next album.
Yes.
Right?
That's hilarious. So true.
Oh, yeah, you hit the accidental open string. Yeah, and you're on fret 6.
Yeah,
it's not sounding great.
Yeah, dude. You don't need to study much just to hold one note out, drenched in reverb and delay. People are feeling the Lord at that point.
Yeah, just
that's it, and hold it there.
You're hired, dude.
I definitely think there's a connection because everyone says like, oh, in worship you start to feel the Spirit. You start to feel the Spirit. Well, I as a sound engineer noticed a definite correlation between bass. How much people were feeling the Spirit and how much sub I was turning up.
This is the Spirit knob, you see?
This is the Spirit knob.
And this was the Holy Spirit.
I was like, it's okay, all right.
All right, you ready for some serious Spirit? Let's get that bitch on up to 0.
So true, dude, man. In the gospel church, I can't speak highly for the gospel church, but I've seen a couple of situations and scenarios very similar, except the organ player. The organ player sits back behind there, right? And as soon as they get their sounds and they start putting some chorus and modulation, everybody's like, oh, praise the Lord, yes. It is that instrument that sounds that good,
yes,
too, man.
That classic, like, church gospel type organ.
Oh, dude, for sure.
It's a great sound.
World Worship Center is that.
Oh,
Danny Rodriguez.
Shout out to all of my World Worship people. I mean, my family, outside of my family. Cedric Thompson, 2-time Grammy winner, amazing band leader, producer, all-around musician, father, grandfather, human being. Daniel Rodriguez, we've known him since those early days.
Oh, dude, yeah. We've known him for a while.
Shopping for stuff in the studio.
For the studio, yeah. At
Home Depot.
Home Depot, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, John Dillard is another amazing human being that I started becoming more acquainted with being a part of the World Worship Church.
Dude, it's crazy who they hire there at that church, though. Like the names, like literally like celebrity status, musicians, like maybe not well known like a big name celebrity, but like have played with these people, have they're
very humble like that. And when we come together as brothers and we make music, there's something else that's challenging. It's hard to say. I feel more of that thing when you're gelling with musicians and vibing right and just coming up with stuff.
I call it Dick Lightning.
That's it. That's a great analogy.
In this case, church Dick Lightning.
Church, yeah. Dude, I got so much Dick Lightning.
Holy
in
Dick
church.
Lightning.
Oh, that's it. Where's the Holy Spirit now?
We had Dick Lightning the first time we ever played together.
Dude, yeah, we did. Yeah.
That was awesome.
Jason Cook, we can thank him for that phrase.
Oh, shoot, yeah.
Yeah. But
it's like, dude, it's like when you're jamming. Dude, he was a total bro, like sounded like, you know. Dude, he got a tattoo under his belly button. It was like a smiley face word, and it said awesomer.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And that's all you need to know about everything about him.
Yeah, exactly.
Now you know everything about him as a person.
So that being said, though, the only other vibe that I feel outside of that situation is, which is the communication, the connection in an improvisatorial setting, is some of the jazz situations I've been in. Knowing John Dillard has helped open me up into some of the jazz circuit, smooth jazz, Billboard artists and stuff like that. And so totally grateful to play a bunch of gigs at Middle C recently, man. But there is something cool about that kind of music. You have the structured organization of everything, almost very much like a rock band scenario situation. Yeah. I'm sure you guys open this up live. I've seen you shred awesome solos during some of the covers and stuff you guys do, like Isn't She Lovely? I think you do a really good job on that one.
That's the variety stuff.
Yeah, the variety stuff. But there is something that opens up with you and your brothers or whoever you are playing music with, that's almost like a channel. It doesn't matter if you believe in a particular spirituality or religion. Like everybody's like, oh, dude, energy. Well, let's say everything comes from that energy, right? Well, that energy source is more susceptible in these moments of vulnerability that we have in live improvisatorial situations. Yeah. And being live in that situation is something that's very profound about music. It's one thing that pushes me to the height of my craft, to try to be the best improviser I can be in that moment. Because in that moment, you're hearing melodies. And a lot of the times it's very easy for us to run scale licks and run through the patterns and stuff like that, but to really capture the essence of something, a melody, if you will, in that situation is in my opinion, something that makes music very humbling and music very worth pursuing. And you know what? Whenever you open up that vulnerability, people in the audience feel that. There's something that they feel that opens up because everybody's in that state. They're giving themselves, a part of themselves, to the audience. And when they receive that, some of these people will come up and be like, man, you know what? Dude, I appreciated your bass playing or guitar playing or your drummer. When you did your solo, there was something in there that just spoke to me, man. They could have been going through some rough situation, whatever. And so I correlate a lot of the stuff that happened in the church with more secular situations, particularly in kind of the more improvisatorial jazz situation. So
yeah.
Anyway, I just wanted to share that little philosophy of life.
Man. Yeah.
I mean,
that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to touch people with your music.
That's it.
And move people. And sometimes it's a different way. Some people want to go to a rock concert and just feel like come alive and just
aggression and power.
Yeah, and then some people, in certain areas, I guess you got your church where people are just like hungry, like the church term, hungry for, feeling that extra spiritual sense of things, the bass knob, and
yeah. Good vibe.
Feeling the subwoofer,
the bass fader,
yeah.
Sub.
Well, that's actually something I like that you talk about improvisation that way. I've been thinking a lot about improvisation lately, and
Nice.
how that even works. You ever think about like when you improvise a solo and you're just like, wait, what just happened? Like, like I have no idea what just happened. But I'm glad, and Driz, I'm glad we made the decision as a band to kind of come away from the metronome and the tracks and stuff that we've been using live, because it opens us up for those improvisation possibilities, which we do take advantage of when we're not on tracks. When we are on tracks, we can't take advantage of it because we're chained to this same exact, to the microsecond thing that we do, which makes for a tight show. But rock and roll isn't necessarily about being tight. It's about having that energy and that vibe and things every night being different. And nobody knowing what's coming next, including the people on stage a lot of times. Yeah. Like that's what rock and roll is.
Well, and it's such a different world when you're playing rock and roll, because, you're talking about this thing, and with jazz, you're chilling a lot more. When we do a performance, dude, it's like a war zone, man. You get up and you don't even know what happened.
Battle, man.
You're swinging your guitar around, head banging, like hitting the right shit.
I hope so. You don't know. You don't know where
you're just so in it, rocking out.
You don't know where your brothers are. You just look up. There's one in your face. You're like, oh, what's up, dude?
Smacks in the face.
You go back down into your zone, like
that's it.
Pouring sweat, like everything's just a blur, and then it's over, and you're like, thank you, good night, and you come off stage like, what the fuck just happened? Like,
right.
Oh yeah.
Did we do good? I think dude, we did good. Yeah.
And it goes by so fast and so hard with those first hits,
Oh, dude, it's so fast and so like a 3-hour set we did at the Juke Joint didn't feel like 3 hours. Know.
That went by fast.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, it is. That's the closest thing I could liken it to, I guess, having never been in a war zone, which is probably very offensive to people who have been in a war zone. But
yeah, they're like,
it's like battle. It's our version of battle.
Well, dude, you're like trying to hit the right buttons. You're trying. Oh gosh, shit! I got to get back to because you're trying to like move around stage. You're not. If you're stationary in our show, you're fucking up.
Yeah.
Right. Like if you're like, unless you're like going to a lead and you need to make a change, like that's when you're stationary. You're like bouncing on one foot. Yeah. About to hit that patch at the right time.
You got to look cool doing it. Like,
that's where the fans come into play. The fans blowing your hair so you can at least look cool while you're making a patch change. Patch stain.
You should name one of your patches of that. Or next album. Huh?
Hey, by the way, actually, you mentioned patches. We actually have patches available on the merch store now.
Yes.
LA Maybe patches. Head to lamaybe.com/store. That's the plug of the day. But I'm super excited about patches because you have a lot of cool ones and I don't. So.
Yeah, I mean, I got a couple cool ones, and I sewed them on myself.
Nice.
Half of them with an iron, and half of them with actual
You sewed them on with an iron?
Yeah.
Interesting.
So you guys are talking about the energy of being in a rock band and just having that situation where it's full on the whole way, man.
Yeah.
Time goes by quickly. I love that energy so much, and obviously it's something we grew up with, all three of us. So it's, I think what has resurfaced in my identity is that passion and bringing it back into these new styles of music.
Right.
Because they totally dig that I'm not another George Benson. They totally dig that I'm not another Pat Metheny or another one of these guys that's done that thing already with that tone, the ES-175, or, a lot of the smooth jazz cats barely use distortion. A lot of the modern ones do. Anyway, that's why I gravitate to fusion rock from the Chick Corea era and stuff like that. Frank Mbali, dude. Scott Henderson, Greg Howe, dude. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
That's my guy, dude.
I knew it was going to go here. I was waiting for this moment.
No. He's my guy. Okay?
I've interviewed Greg twice.
Really?
Yeah, man. He's a really cool guy.
That's cool, man.
But actually, something you were mentioning earlier, I wanted to go back to this real quick about the Ibanez necks.
Yeah.
I never knew what I didn't like about him until from when I said I interviewed Greg Howe. I had an old podcast where we interviewed a bunch of musicians and stuff. I don't do it anymore. It was called the Musicians Talk Show. One of those guys I interviewed was Joel Hoekstra, who plays with Whitesnake and a bunch of other people.
Dude,
badass Night
guitars.
Ranger, just stupid good guitar player.
Awesome, man.
And he plays Les Pauls, and I asked him why he played Les Pauls, and he put it into words in a way that I realized I immediately was what I was thinking, but I just never had the words for it. He said he likes his guitar to fight back. He likes to have that fight, and I was like, yeah, that's why I like a Les Paul. Like the Ibanez is just like too easy. It's like slipping over ice. Like I don't want that. I need that what's the fucking word? Not traction, friction.
You need that battle. Like you want that that fight with a guitar.
Inertia. That's
Inertia.
The word I was looking for.
Okay, cool.
You need that like running through sand. You need that little thing pulling you back. I don't know.
It's like a call and
Ibanez
response.
to me are just like,
what you give into it is what it gives back. Yeah. And it's responded particularly in with those styles of guitars. More dynamic range, too, less compression. Not only is the Ibanez super slicky and like floating on ice, but it kind of lacks some of the dynamics, and which was a big issue, which is why I had to transition. But I so agree with you on fighting with your guitar a little bit. That's why it was a harder transition with the Strat. Not only the neck radius changed, but also because especially them being single coils as well, man, when you hit them the right way, they just really break up so nice. Humbuckers too, don't get me wrong.
They come alive.
Oh, dude.
There's something about like a tube amp coming alive, and a guitar that you have to fight a little bit. Or a record player when you spin a record. Like when you have gear and stuff that you have to do something for it to come alive. There's this inner
like old keyboards where they have to like warm up and they're out of tune when they're warming up.
Yeah.
Like, and they can go out of tune. You're like, isn't that an electric piano? Like,
right.
It's hilarious.
It's out of tune though.
What do you guys feel about? Okay, so I'm going to bring up a very interesting topic of conversation here. It's about bending on the guitar. Okay, have you noticed that modern players who bend sound nothing like people in the past who bend? And this is obvious because they're two different sets of people. But do you guys remember listening to the records in the 60s, 70s, and totally the 80s too, but the 60s and 70s guys had this bend that you would, listen to Angus Young. No guy bends like him or any of those rock bands at the time. They would bend, and all the vibrato.
They have that, like, Slash has it too. It's like this frantic vibrato.
Dude.
Their vibrato's like, where like a modern vibrato's like, wow, wow, wow. It's like very different.
It's hard, I feel like, for a lot of modern cats to emulate that. Like, you hear a lot of great guys playing, man. If you listen to a lot of some of the more gent metal guys, their bending doesn't really have a lot of that sauce.
And I would argue, I like gent metal, especially like Periphery.
They're great.
But aside from Periphery, going to a lot of just like more of your like mainstream like metal screamo kind of stuff.
By the way, side
those
note
solos,
on that, Meshuggah has a new album out.
Oh, I'm Thirst, I think, was one of the...
They're, I think, the godfathers of gent. But back to your point.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah,
totally.
But a lot of those solos don't speak to me personally.
I was actually about to say something similar.
And we've talked about this actually, and I totally agree.
I think, and it's interesting. There's nothing. It's a weird juxtaposition, and maybe I'm out of line saying this, but a lot of these modern metal guitar players in particular are stupid good players.
Oh, yeah.
With almost no ability to improvise.
Yeah.
It seems. Now, of course, there's exceptions. But like Jason Richardson, for example, he's said many times that improvisation is a weak point of his, and he's been trying to work on it, and he's sent videos on Instagram and stuff, like working on my improv and stuff. But then he'll like play stuff, and that's insane that no one else can play. And it's like, well, that's an interesting juxtaposition of being so good at one thing and not as good at another. Yeah. When you feel like it should kind of be more even, like you'd at least be decent at improving, But it's like, and a lot of the guys from Protest the Hero and stuff like that, I've noticed similar things where they play ridiculously complicated stuff, but as soon as they get outside of that box, they struggle. It seems to me. Mm-hmm. So I don't know everything about them as a player. Maybe I'm wrong. But
what's that Polyphia guy again? Who's like
Tim Henson?
Yeah, Tim Henson. Yeah, and his approach to he called the bends that you were talking about, Mikey.
The boomer bends.
Yeah, the boomer bends. Yeah, you saw that. Yeah. I laughed pretty hard.
A lot of the new metal guys actually do like shit on that, like the older style,
Yeah.
The old guys shit on the new style, like, oh, he's not playing with feel, he's just shredding, this is all garbage. And the new guys who are shredding are like, oh, well, you're just blues facing and holding a note. Like, that's just as dumb. Like,
that's cool and all, but how many records have AC/DC or any of these comparatively?
I think it just comes down to a point of like, what do you want to do? It doesn't matter what I think about what you're doing. What do you want to do? Then just keep doing that.
Exactly.
I can hate it. That's fine. I don't like it. That's whatever.
I'm not saying I hate it. I just, if I had a choice to listen to something, I kind of like that more, just like that raw fighting the guitar sound,
and making it work.
Yeah, I think if we zoom out even more, it's more about in the past, older, and this is going to keep funneling down. You had less bands who appealed to more people.
Yeah, and
as more people exist and more technologies exist, you have way more bands who appeal to way less people.
Yeah,
so like we're not going to have another Rolling Stones.
Oh, no.
That's gone. Like, that'll never be another rock band. I hope I'm wrong. I hope, like, 5 years from now, somebody plays this clip and is like, oh, fucking idiot.
Yeah.
But There's not going to be another band like Rolling Stones or Aerosmith who come out right now in 2022 and sell stadiums like by themselves.
Yeah.
Not as part of a festival or a group of 10 bands. Even Motley Crue's going out with Motley Crue and like 6 other people, like, and they're doing stadiums. But it's like 6 bands, like Def Leppard, Jones, like all these bands.
Yeah.
And it's even them, like, because there's so much music to listen to now. It's like now I can go listen to like country tech death if I'm in the mood, and like me and 12 other people love this one band. You know,
Sounds great, actually.
And then we can go listen to like 80s pop retro fusion jazz, and like, sweet, let's listen to that band now, me and these 12 other people, and there's no overlap between the 12 people, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just that across the board with like so many different options now, and you're gonna always have the pop artists that appeal to a lot of people. Taylor Swift, Ed Sheeran, whatever, but it's kind of seems to like funnel down more,
Yeah, man.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I definitely get that.
I guess I'm just selfish. I just want to hear more guitar players bring the balance, bring those two together to bring the next future evolution of guitar playing. Taking the soul that these players had when they had to fight their guitar with less technology, compression than we do today, with the modern technology. And trust me, there are some guys doing it. I'm not saying there's guys not doing it. It's just there's just like these almost different camps. And I think the future of guitar playing, we're all guitar players, so is bringing all
What
those.
if there's less soul because there's less hard times?
I mean, we went through the pandemic. That was pretty hard. I mean, I'm sure that'll make people bend better.
Yeah, that's a great point.
I fucking hate everything. I'm gonna fucking fight this guitar.
I'm gonna bend so fucking fast, dude. I cough so much.
Man, COVID hit, man. We have those COVID benders now.
COVID
man.
bends now.
Yeah, man.
You mentioned Greg Howe earlier, and
Yes,
another
with
thing
the
I just
Ibanez.
thought of when one thing I asked him is because I can always tell when it's Greg Howe. I've heard tracks where there's 10 guitar players soloing, no video, and I'm like, there's Greg. Like
100%,
out of
bro.
the 10, like I don't know any of the others, but there's Greg Howe. And I asked him, I was like, what makes like, how did you get there? How did you get to the point where I know it's you? And which I think is actually one of the highest compliments you can receive as a guitar player. Like, oh, I know it's you.
Yeah.
And he actually said that one of the things that really helped him is he sat in his room learning Eddie Van Halen licks without YouTube or anything, and he had no idea Eddie was tapping. He had no idea what that was. So he was just sitting here like learning these stupid hard ways to play this pretty easy stuff. Once you know you can do this, it's not incredibly difficult.
Totally.
But if you didn't know that was an option, like,
oh, forget it.
Once you realize your secret weapon's the middle finger.
Yeah. I felt it though. I'm like, come on,
yeah,
give me more of that.
And so Greg was learning all this ridiculous ways to play this stuff, and he said it just made him like kind of develop interesting ways to do things.
Yeah.
And then he saw a video of him playing and was like, you gotta be kidding me, dude. Like, what? This is nothing. Like,
Hey, that's the third time. Okay, we're going to have an issue here. No, just kidding. But, it's when Michael Jackson, too, was like, I need a little bit more bend. I need a little more sauce there. That's when he developed his signature
that vibrato, yep.
God, so good.
Yeah. He said up a minor third, down a minor second.
Oh, really?
That kind of, classical violin glissando.
Well, you taught
vibrato.
me something new. Intravallically. You hear it in a couple of my solos too, like when I do it.
I love that, man.
But I just start like kind of half steps up and down and then get wider until it dies. You know what I mean?
Dude, his is so controlled, and but it sounds so like chaotic, and it's really hard to do. Like, it's really hard to do. He'll just land like you're like, whoa, dude. Like, you have to have almost like real fresh strings to do it. Like, if your strings are old at all, like, it doesn't work very well.
See, he used the flat radius necks during the time, and I think that's where the Ibanez thing kind of sparked.
He played those Lagunas for a long time. I had two of them.
Really?
Not of his signature model, but I had a couple of the lesser models. They were cool. They were
Nice.
cool guitars. Not the highest quality. His signature model was the highest quality one.
Nice.
Now he has the is he with Charvel? I know Guthrie Govan is.
Yeah, totally. I know Guthrie is too. I'm not sure about him. I know he plays DB
Kiesel.
Mark and Kiesel. That's right.
who it is,
You're right. Totally. But he still was totally able to, even on those radius necks that are flatter with the Floyd situation, he was able to have that level of soul that didn't need so much bending, but when he did bend, it still had that sauce.
Yeah.
He just, the way he throws his lines, it's not just shredding. They sound like horn lines, jacked up with a lot of gain, and with, whammy bar control, and the way he can bend the pitch is just something that made him such a unique player and had that level of soul, mixing the virtuosity of the Van Halen camps, neoclassical guys, with these old school kind of settings.
Makes me think of Alex Hutchings too. He's one of those kind of identifiable, like under the radar guys.
Totally.
He's kind of YouTube famous amongst like kind of the shredder, like fusion jazz, improv type cats. But yeah,
Nice.
There's a few guys I can always tell. I can always tell Slash, Greg Howe, and Paul Gilbert.
yeah.
I can usually tell those three. Steve Vai's pretty recognizable as well.
Absolutely.
Just because if you hear something that you're like, what the fuck is that? Like, that's insane. That's
Yeah.
Steve Vai usually. Like, it's just like, did an alien just start playing? Like, I don't even know. Those aren't guitar sounds.
That new
Like-
video he came out with a couple days ago is badass. He's playing like 3 different guitars. at
Oh,
once.
that new thing he created. Yeah.
Yep. Got like a bass on the bottom.
Yeah, it's got like half necks.
Some
and
open
stuff. Yeah.
strings on the top, almost acoustic-y.
Ridiculous,
You
dude.
called it the Hydra or something like that?
Yeah,
What's
yeah.
it called? Yeah, yeah.
Some crazy name.
Yeah.
Anyway,
He's always pushing the envelope. But it's interesting. An interesting thing to note about him is he always pushes the envelope here before here.
yeah,
So he always said he thinks about something first and then he'll try to pick it out. He never just like noodles.
he's a composer.
At least
man.
not anymore. Like
Yeah.
I was lucky enough to spend a week with him and get inside his brain a little bit, and that's one of the biggest things I took away is it all starts here and then he puts it to his hands.
The universe is mental, man. It's a great axiom.
Yeah.
And he's absolutely right. Everything originates essentially in the mind. And that's why I said earlier, he's a composer. That's the composer's mind. You know?
we like to get trapped in boxes,
yeah.
and everything, and we think everything sounds the same because we're stuck in the same boxes, and like you have to kind of. He thinks about things differently. He said, he'll think about a technique. Like one time he thought about, we like to slide into notes. Durr. What if we slid backwards? Durr. And he said he then wrote a whole song with just that.
Nice.
And just like, obviously never released it because who would want to hear that? But like he thinks about something and then is like, okay, let me work on that till I exhaust this mine of intel and then move on to the next thing. And he's done that throughout his whole life with all these different things. So of course he has just this stupid vocabulary of things to pull from that you and I are just like, I would never have thought of that. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
I would never have done that.
Yeah,
Like,
just pushing the envelope always.
Yeah.
There was that tune he came up with, I think maybe last year and a half ago, Knapsack. The guy had like tendonitis. He got surgery on his hands, and he proceeded to have a cast in his right hand and compose a whole tune just playing it left-hand legato. It was just genius,
Yeah.
You haven't checked that one out. That's pushing the envelope forward.
This is another thing. I love that because that reminds me of another thing I remember Greg Howe said. Greg Howe dropping wisdom bombs, man.
Nice.
He said that a lot of times our styles arise out of our limitations.
So
So I can't do this, so I'm going to do this. And now that's my thing, and that's kind of him with I can't do the tapping because I didn't know that was a thing. So I do this now. And now that's why I sound like Greg Howe. So we kind of become ourselves through what we can't do as much as what we can do, which is kind of cool.
And here comes the quest of identity that we were talking about earlier.
Yep.
Accepting yourself, allowing yourself to be the person who you are. If you have your sound, stick with it. Unapologetically be yourself. Know your limitations, know your strengths, rock with your strengths.
Boom.
And that's what I think you guys are doing.
That's why I've been the rhythm guitar for both of you cats.
That's it, dude. That's it for the fucking regular listeners. It's not going to get better than that. It's VIP time. We'll see you guys next time.
See you guys.
Hey everybody, thank you so much for watching the latest episode of your new favorite band. This is the end of the free content.
But if you want to unlock the full uncut versions of every episode, head over to lamaybe.com/VIP and sign up for our membership. For $7 a month, you'll get extended episodes of our podcast, a bonus episode every month, plus exclusive merch. You'll also be supporting us and helping us continue to stay on the road and make new music. And for that, we're eternally grateful. So thank you.